All right, fitness fam, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos for y'all. So what we have today for Wednesday is we're going to have, for our warm-up setup, we have a progressive warm-up. So no additional rounds. We're not looking at doing multiple rounds of each movement. But what we got planned for today is it's going to be 5 pass-throughs, or AKA dislocates. And we're really looking forward to starting from the front, moving on back, and then coming back forward is going to be one of our pass-throughs. So we could do this with either a broom handle, or if we have a PVC pipe at home, or even a very light pipe will do very well for this. Next one up is going to be 10 around the world. So we're looking at doing 5 going to the right and 5 going to the left. From there, it's going to be 15 scapula push ups, aka scapula depressions, 20 mountain climbers, so 10 on each side, so 10 on your right leg and 10 on your left, and we're looking for full mountain climbers. We'll also get into the nitty-gritty details in the video breakdown. What we're also looking for afterwards, we just built up from 5 to 20, now we're going down, so now it's going to be 15 glute bridges, really looking for adequate glute activation on those glute bridges, really focusing on form. Then getting into our more dynamic movements, we're looking at doing full extension squats, getting high on those tippy toes. And finally, last but not least, our explosive movement for our warm-up is going to be 5 broad jumps. And that's what we're looking to finish out our warm-up. This then leads into our WOD. What we got set up is 3 rounds. We're looking at doing 21, 15, and 9 for the WOD. So it's going to be 2 different movements that we got set up for today. We have hang power cleans and push jerks. As heavy as possible while maintaining consistency. We'll also go over some options that you have to come up with if we don't have a barbell at home, or if we have any dedicated weight at home, we can then accommodate with some sort of odd object, of course. And just to have a little bit of a further breakdown of what we have for each round, we have round 1, it's going to be 21 and 21 of each. So it's going to be 21 hang power cleans and 21 push jerks. Then for round 2, it's going to be 15 and 15, and round 3, 9 and 9. That's what we're looking at. Let's lock it out. It's good to be back. Let's get some fitness, fam.
All right, so for our pass-throughs, we're going to grab either a PVC pipe or a broom handle and then place it into our hip crease. Once it's there, we're going to extend our arms out while still maintaining a full grip around the bar. And then to get up to our movement, what we're going to do is go 1 full rotation back and forward to complete the movement. We want the bar to be just above our head, around 2 to 4 inches. Setting up for around the world is very similar to pass-throughs. So once we have the proper grip, we are then going to rotate around our torso and back through. We're going to make sure to do 5 in each direction, really focusing on trying to keep our torso upright as well as our head, and allowing for a little bit of a bend in our elbows to assist with mobility. To start our scapula push-ups, we're going to get into the leaning rest position. With straight arms, we're going to allow our torso to drop down and bringing our shoulder blades together. Really focusing on this range of motion, really trying to articulate those shoulder blades through retraction and then extending forward through the motion. As our main hip opener warm-up, we're really looking to go through the full range of motion with our mountain climbers. Trying to get those feet as far up and as close to our hands as possible, ideally trying to get the heel right next to the palm. If we're not quite there, no problem. Instead, what we can do is a knee to elbow exercise. For our main posterior chain activation warm-up, we're looking to do glute bridges. We want knees just outside of hips, arms at a 45-degree angle away from our torso, and head resting nicely onto the ground. Full extension should look as such, making sure to keep shoulders completely in line with our knees, and the end result should have the knees at a 90-degree angle once we're at full extension. We want to create a strong athletic base for our squats, and so feet just outside of our hips should be adequate for most individuals, and this should facilitate the full range of motion for this exercise. This movement starts and ends in the full extension position, really reaching up nice and tall towards the ceiling and helping activate all of our stabilizer muscles within our legs. We're now going to take what we learned from our full extension squats and apply it in a very forceful and dynamic movement going forward. We want to ensure on our landing that we land softly in our athletic stance pose. So I've set up a few options that you can choose to conduct your hang power cleans. The big concepts that we want to keep in mind when conducting a hang power clean is first our starting position. We're going to want to position the implement just above our knees, and our shoulders should be in line with the implement. When we're ready, we're going to conduct a full triple extension movement, focusing on fully extending our hips, knees, and then subsequently our ankles, and then creating a high shrug. Remember, when the elbows bend, the power ends, and so because of which we want to really focus on using that violent hip extension to create as much force to send that object up and catch it onto our shoulders. Regardless of the implement, we want to really focus on hip extension throughout. So even if you're using, for instance, a PVC pipe or a broom handle for your bar type implement, you're really trying to focus on trying to generate as much power as possible with your hips. Another thing to note, especially with dumbbell or kettlebell implements, is that we want to focus on controlling our descent down back to our starting position. So the use of our thighs to catch the implement is going to help in dissipating a lot of that energy and force evenly across our body, and of course maintaining our center of gravity and strong foundation. These same concepts also apply to odd objects, and the whole reason we want to keep these in mind is so that we reduce our risk of injury. To conduct our push jerk, we're going to use the same implement that we used for our hang power clean. So the big note that we want to make with any overhead press exercise is elbow positioning in relation to our torso. With an overhead press, we're going to make sure, as compared to a front catch position, that our elbows are down towards our torso and that our wrists are straight in line with our forearms. So once we conduct our clean and we're in our forward catch position, we are then going to tuck our elbows close to our torso, straighten our wrist out in line with our forearms, and then dip, drive, dip, and then slowly ascend in a controlled manner. Once we're ready to catch the weight back down upon ourselves, we are then going to allow the weight to then rest back down on our shoulders and dip down. If we need to rest in between repetitions, we can then return back to our front catch position and allow the weight to then rest completely on our shoulders as we regather and recollect. Make sure that as you descend back into catching that weight from overhead, that we get into a strong athletic pose or quarter squat position to allow ourselves to, one, absorb that weight correctly, and then, of course, reduce our risk of injury yet again. These same concepts can apply to our dumbbell and kettlebell variants, as well as our odd object. And especially with odd objects, we can use this to help create core stabilization, always focusing on our breath and bracing with all of our movements, and that could be said for our warm-up and our WOD for today. This concludes this training video, but we'd love to hear from you. Take care.